Blake Lively has not defended Woody Allen or Harvey Weinstein, yet that is the story that keeps going around because of this smear campaign. I'm pretty sure that articles like this from 2016 is why this was going around. Blake Lively calls Woody Allen very empowering. So before we get into things, a little backstory on Woody Allen. He was basically accused of doing things to his adoptive daughter by her. She claims she was 7 years old, and he also ended up marrying one of his adoptive daughters. Now, none of this has been proven. He's not been found guilty of anything, and he completely denies all of the charges. So Blake was in one of Woody Allen's movies, Cafe Society, and at that time, Ronan Farrow, who is Allen's estranged son, called him out and called everybody out who's been working in his movies in an essay he released. When Blake was asked about the essay and Woody Allen's situation, she refused to comment, saying she didn't want to speak on something she didn't know enough about, and she wasn't familiar with the situation. And just for context, everyone who had worked with Woody Allen was being interviewed and asked questions about this. So Alec Baldwin responded and said, "I worked with Allen 3 times and it was one of the privileges of my career." Cate Blanchett, "It's obviously been a long and painful situation for the family, and I hope they find some resolution and peace." Miley Cyrus, "From the way I saw him with his family, I never saw him be anything but an incredible person and a really great dad. People may slam me for saying that." Literally, no one knew how to answer these questions. He wasn't found guilty of anything, and no one knew what was true and what was not, so they were all just trying to stay away from it. Scarlett Johansson even said, "It's not like this is somebody that's been prosecuted and found guilty of something, and you can then go, I don't support this lifestyle or whatever." Diane Keaton even backed him completely, saying, "Woody Allen is my friend, and I continue to believe him. It might be of interest to take a look at the 60 Minutes interview from 1992 and see what you think." And here's the main quote from Blake Lively in 2016. She said, "It's very dangerous to factor in things you don't know anything about. I know my experience, and my experience with Woody is he's empowering to women." So no, she's never defended him. She actually said, "I can't talk about it because I don't know. My only experience with him is he was empowering to women on the set." And as for her defending Harvey Weinstein, that is completely false. She's quoted as saying, "It's devastating to hear." So when this story first broke and everyone started coming out, all actresses that had any dealings with Harvey Weinstein were being asked about this during interviews. And this is actually what she said. "That was never my experience with Harvey in any way whatsoever. And I think that if people heard these stories, I do believe in humanity enough to think that this wouldn't have just continued. I never heard any stories like this. I never heard anything specific, but it's devastating to hear." The number one thing that can happen is that people who share their stories, people have to listen and trust them, and people have to take it seriously. As important as it is to remain furious about this, it's important to also say that this exists everywhere. So remember to look everywhere. This isn't a single incident. This cannot happen. This should not happen. And it happens in every single industry. It happens so often that women sometimes aren't able to process the severity of the situation. It happens to women all over, to the point where women don't even think that this is a real assault. I've had plenty of things happen to me, whether it be trying on a dress for prom at some clothing store, to a director being inappropriate, to a guy walking down the street where you don't think, "Oh, well, that wasn't actually sexual assault. This guy just grabbed my butt." It's important that women are furious right now. It's important that there is an uprising. It's important that we don't stand for this and that we don't focus on 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 stories. It's important that we focus on humanity in general and say, this is unacceptable. And in my opinion, that's exactly what she did in this situation. She didn't want to blow up the whole movie by going to HR and making a big stink about it. So instead, she demanded a meeting and had a list of things that needed to take place for her to feel more comfortable on set. Everyone agreed to this. They all signed off on it. And one of the lead producers even signed that they would not retaliate against her for bringing this up. Now look what has happened. She kept quiet about this after the release of the film. He didn't know if she would or not, so he decided to get ahead of it with his PR team, and she was completely ruined in the press with her reputation. So before blindly believing things you hear on here about her supporting Woody Allen or Harvey Weinstein or whatever else is going around, I advise everyone just to take 2 seconds to put it into Google to see what the real facts are before making a judgment.